Hello, 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 hello. How we doing today? How are we, everybody? What is happening? What's going on, my friends? I hope you're all doing well on this Wednesday afternoon, the 5th of November. It's been happy Guy Fawkes Day, I guess. I've heard people complaining over in your neck of the woods on the other side about fireworks, things like that going off. Seemingly a day of some celebration, I suppose. So anyway, I hope everybody is doing well either way. What is going on? We're going to talk about Mr. Wilcox and his comments today. He's been giving us some nice, he's been giving us some nice words. It's very, very refreshing to see, other people speak besides, of course, Amarim, coach. I want to see other people talking, that matters to me. I want to see other people up front. We've been kind of clamoring for that for a long time. So it's good to hear from Sir Jim regularly, and it's good to hear from Wilcox regularly. So I'm going to go through his quotes, things like that. I want to talk about Project 150, I think it was, whatever, winning the title, the long-term plan, because I want to explain some of what you're seeing in terms of transfer priorities and what isn't, which we kind of know what isn't necessarily a transfer priority yet, which we'll talk about. And then I want to look at it. Is there progress? Are we seeing the stats kind of back up some of the good feelings that are there, even as things are going up and down and all of that. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. But first, of course, it looks like a congratulations to Bryan Mbeumo for winning Player of the Month for the Premier League. You can always rely on the FIFA leakers, to the FIFA players, the FUT, EAFC or whatever it's called now, to get it before everybody else, because that's kind of how it works. It's all about the money. So, it's got to go into the game first. They're making the card first before they even announce it. So, yes, it looks like Mr. Bryan Mbeumo will be the Player of the Month. And got to do the little dance. Gotta get the hands lower, I guess. Anyway, that's enough of that. But it just cracks me up every single time. Now doing the Homer Simpson and all of that. So yes, a big congrats to big Bryan Mbeumo. Already a very successful signing for us at this point in time. So good for him, good for us, and maybe it'll be as well Ruben Amorim winning the Manager of the Month. Would be nice to get the double at United for our good month there in in October. Never do that. Oh, I'm gonna do it every time Bryan scores. That's what's happening now. You know that, right? Every time Bryan scores, every time we win and he gets a goal, it's happening. It's happening every single time. It's gonna be worse. It's gonna be worse. Next time it's got to be on the pitch. And it's got to be 11 players. That's the kind of vibes I'm looking for at United these days. I need to see that. I need to see everyone all together doing it. That's what's got to happen. It's got to happen. It's got to happen. Tell me that's not what we all want to see. That's not what we all crave. You know what I'm saying? That would be amazing. That would be a sign of everybody coming together. Is not reading it. Maybe it's too small. That should be big enough. What's your thoughts on India at Everton for left wing back? I would love it, and we're going to talk about the left wing back situation and all of that. I'm not sure he would be the right fit for there, but we're going to talk about that because there was a little bit from Andy Mitten saying, that left wing back is not a priority right now because there's other positions, and I agree with that. Arena. Oh, there's our good friend Academy Arena in there. Not cutting my hair until Shea Lacey makes his debut. AFCON, my friend. AFCON. AFCON, you you won't have to. Your hair's just going to be like a normal 4-week haircut or something. I swear he's going to make his debut in December. I feel it in my bones. We are going to see Shea Lacey coming in when Mbumo and Ahmad are out. We're going to see it, my friend. We're going to see it, okay? We're going to see Shea Lacey. It's time. We need it. We need some of that. We need that boost up into the first team for him. He's ready. He's cooking. He's ready. We're going to see it. We are going to. I'm sure of it. I am sure of it. He's definitely impressing everybody, isn't he, at the moment? I mean, Shea Lacey has been like one of those players that everyone has known is for 4 years now, right? If I'm not mistaken, is going to get into the first team, right? He's like, we don't have a ton of those, but everybody has known he's going to make it for quite some time. You know, and when they know, we know, and he's one of the ones. He's one of those. So hopefully we will see that, and it'll be the start of something beautiful, because it can always give us a lot more in all of that. We'll get to that left wing back and transfer situation. I want to talk about that. Talk about the plans in the market, the next things, and what we're going for and why, and also explain a little bit, because there's a little more to it. It's not quite as simple as specifically stating that, well, that means we won't get a wing back or something like that. It's a little more complex, the situation, than that. So we'll get to it. Let's talk about Jason Wilcox comments at this point in time. Let's look at some of the quotes that he has here. As you pile in, please do drop a like on the video. All of that. Subscribe if you see the tweet, retweet it, and all of that really does help. I'm trying to do these earlier on Champions League days so that it's before the bigger games, which always tend to be at around 1 o'clock my time, 8 o'clock UK time, I want to say. Maybe it's 7 o'clock UK. No, it's 8 o'clock. They tend to be around there, so I'm trying to get the lives done beforehand so that people can go off and watch their preferred matches and things like that. Hold on 1 second. Okay. All right. Let's freaking do it. Okay. All right. But yes, it's really good to see. It's very, very encouraging to see Wilcox speaking, talking, all of that. So I'm going to go through a few different quotes and comments and talk about it and all of that. He says, Man United is bigger than any player, any manager, any staff member. We're custodians. If you like, we've just got to make sure that at some point our journey will end inevitably, and we need to be sure that this football club, when we leave this football club, whenever that is, I hope I'm here for a long time, but at some point the journey is going to come to an end. And this football club is in a much better position. I really feel now this football club is moving in the right direction. It's my own personal view. That's not a biased view of, because I'm working here. I look at every department. I'm going to talk about the sporting department only because it's unfair for me to talk about other departments. But when I think about the sporting department, we are making progress in every area, every single area. Obviously, this is all very reflective of some of the things that Sir Jim has said in the past, talking about being a custodian of the club in terms of owning it. It's a mindset he'll want to have the whole club to have top to bottom. It's the right mindset. It's the right mindset when you're there, when you're working at United, all of that. You're there to make the club better, not to enrich yourself personally. You know what I'm talking about. You're there for the long-term benefit of the club, but that also means you have to be thinking with big picture and the long term. And I think that's really, really important as well. I think he's talking about long-term thinking, because some of the decisions that are made in the short term can always be a little bit painful, but you're always prioritizing the long term. I think if you're trying to protect your own neck, okay, too much, then you're liable to make a lot of short-term decisions, things that take the pressure off of you, things that take the that immediately will give you some relief, that will immediately give you some benefit, that will immediately get things off of your back, sink into the clamor for this or for that or whatever. But you have to make those kind of long-term calls that maybe in the short term are always a little bit tougher to face up to, that will get you there. And I think they've done a good job of that so far, and long may it continue in that respect. Beyond that, here's some more quotes. Let's kind of get into these as well. This we've spoken about in the past. Jason Wilcox opens up on the 2024 and 2025 summer transfer windows. Last year's summer window was a lot more chaotic than this one, and this one was really calm. With this one, we knew the plan. We knew which players we're going to target. We had our lists. We knew which areas of the pitch we need to improve. These are continuous meetings with myself and Ruben Amram, with Chris Vavell and his team underneath, where we're very clear on the profiles that we need. So the brief will come from myself and Ruben, goes into Chris. There's a lot of debate and discussion around the profiles we need, and then the scouts go into the market, and we'll combine that with the data team, and there'll be a constant dialogue. So I think it's really great that he's saying all of this stuff, because every year I try to do a little bit of an education on how United's recruitments work, and I describe it exactly the way that he did. I did a structural video earlier this year, one of the PowerPoints, and explain what happens is you have Wilcox and Amram. Amram is the first team guy. He's looking at his squad and he's saying, this is what we've got. Here's what I'm lacking. That's what Wilcox needs from Ruben Amram. He needs him to sit there and go, this is what I'm lacking. This is what we don't have in the squad. This is what isn't good enough. This is what I'm struggling with. They get together and say, all right, that's what we need. These are the positions that the first team needs in order to be successful. When Ruben Amram first came in, a huge part of his job last season, I'm going to say it again, was not necessarily just winning games, but was also very specifically evaluate the squad and look at, what do we have? What do we not have? Okay. What is not there? Who can I use? Try people out, do all sorts of things. And clearly he came to a very, very solid conclusion where he was then able to say, look, I don't want any of these guys. They're not going to work for me. These guys I'm okay with keeping, but we need to start replacing. And in these positions, we've got to sign players. 100% we've got to sign players. So it was like, we want a shitload of forwards, because I don't like any of our forwards. And a goalkeeper. This was the priorities in this window. He also wanted a midfielder, but we want more than that, and I'll show you in a minute. So that's what they continue to discuss. What do we need? What do we want? But they laid it out, and they made a big plan. A big, big plan. All right? A big plan. And I'm going to show you that when I finish with the quotes. We'll talk about left wing back as well, because I want to explain that, Chris Evans, for sure, based on some of the quotes that are out there. I want to actually explain that, because I'm takes a little more contextual understanding that part of it. So they evaluate it. They say, this is what we need. They go to Vavell and say, all right, Vavell, my dude, we need you to find us players in these positions, and this is what they kind of need. This is what we need out of them. This is kind of the attributes we want. And Vavell goes to his guys and says, all right, we got to scout them. They find players that fit that. They utilize the data team tied in with the scouts to say, this is the background of them. This is all this. Here's the players that we've got. And boom, they're going to start churning out lists. Now, we've got our main lists in some of these areas already, but as we go through the year, they're of course going to keep scouting and adding new players to those lists. The big list comes up the table to Vavell and Wilcox, and then what else happens here? They want to start narrowing it down, and what do? Well, he spoke about this next. This is such a great interview, honestly. Such a great interview. He says, right now I'm having weekly meetings with the recruitment team on the different profiles, the age bracket, the cost. Are they obtainable with Ruben as well? So it's a joined up approach. When we sign a player, there are so many people involved in the process. The data team are involved in the process, and we will then focus all our attention on certain players. It is really important then that we do the background checks on whether they're clean living professionals. This is really important. This year we looked at Premier League ready players, and certainly with Brian and Mateus, we could take too much risk in this area. We need a player that could plug in and play with little transition times. So they get these big lists, and then what do? They start checking with them. How much are they going to cost? Is that anywhere near our considered value? No, strike them from the list. Are they looking to leave the club? We got to check in with their agents and representatives. No, they have no interest. All of that, boom, strike them from the thing. It's on the MUTV, the interview. What does Ruben think of them? Does he like them, or are there guys he really, really doesn't want, or the guys he's open with? Okay, he's experienced that player. Guy's a dick. Get rid of him. Cool. Get some character references. Boom. Get rid of him. And the list gets smaller and smaller. Oh, too old. All right. That's a good profile, good scouting. Too old. Get rid of them. Too high wages. Get rid of them. And the list gets narrower and narrower. Then they get to their main list. And on their main list, then they're going to start doing those checks, those background checks, those things like that. They're going to start asking questions. They're going to start looking into it more and more and more and more and more and saying, what do we think of these guys? What do we think of these guys? And from there, they might find, yeah, this player, they'll ask other players, they'll ask other people and narrow it down. And in the end, this all happens between like November and March. This whole process, November and March, and sometimes earlier than that. And they want to narrow it down to like 3 players, end of the day, maybe 5 on the shorter list, right? They still have some floating out there, but they want to have their main guys, and they want to pull off getting those guys in the door. And that's what they're doing at the moment. So that probably entails the main names we know, like for the midfield, but then also a few other possibilities that they're going to want to add throughout the season. And at the same time, they're going to keep looking at the data on their main targets that they've had from before and removing them. So it's a really, really interesting, cool process that we completely weren't fucking doing for 10 years. And it's not like it's that groundbreaking. It's basic, but that's how you get it done properly, by delineating all these departments, working through these lists, making big lists. They probably have 25 players on the midfield list. Okay. They have their main names that they were talking about last year. They have 25 more. So you start to see stories, United scouting this, looking at this. Doesn't mean they're going to end up on the smaller lists. But yes, and then they're going to have, well, if I'm not mistaken, they reorganized the scouting department to have, like, they're going to have some under 21 scouting and some more senior scouting and things like that as well. So it starts to just, it starts to narrow, you know what I mean? And the reason that Anderson, Wharton, and Paleba are, I don't think they're smokescreen, Marcus, but they're easy ones that they're fine to acknowledge because we've been watching them and everybody knows it. But that doesn't mean they're not looking and adding a ton more to that list, right? And seeing, does anybody rise up to that level? And then, can we get these guys? Well, if we lose out on him, do we go to this one? If we lose out on him, do we go to this one, etc. So they're building it all out. They really do seem to know what they're doing. Can a performance like Anderson move him? Yeah, for sure. Of course. Well, I wouldn't say just one game, but certainly it's a factor because you get up close and personal and you get them compared to your players, right? Like when we see Baleba and he doesn't stack up to our midfield, you worry. When you see Anderson and he's running the game, you go, yes, relative to our players and our squad, Anderson would elevate it. That can be, because it's hard to look at that from the outside. It's hard to look at that. You can get that aspect of it and say, wow, they're great, but how are they relative to the quality we currently have can be harder to measure. So yes, I do think games against matter. They should, in terms of gathering and looking at more data and things like that. So it's good to see. I mean, we know these things are happening. It's not like I said, it's not groundbreaking shit, but it is good shit at the same time. You know, it's very, very good shit that they're working through all of this properly, doing it, following it. But it's also then about the quality of the individuals involved, because we were kind of doing this under Murtaugh. Actually, when he came in, I can tell you that as a fact. However, how strict you sit on your processes is very important. When you get to the end and you narrow that list down, do you say, cool, we're going to go for these guys? Or does the manager throw in names he wants and you abandon 6 months, 7 months, 8 months worth of work and just chase what the manager wants? Because that's what we were doing, right? That's not going to happen anymore, right? You can see that the burden for Ruben in this setup as the manager is not tell us who you want. It's tell us what you want. You understand the difference? This is the delineation between the job of the manager in recruitment in a modern setup. It's not who, it's what. They need to know what Ruben wants. They need to know exactly what he wants, and he's a fundamental part of the recruitment setup. But it's for what do you need? What attributes do you need? What type of player do you need? What are you missing? We'll find you the right person that will give you that. That's the job. And that separates these things out and takes away the personal conflict involved where people have to give their too much of their personal views and things like that on all of this. So it's a difference there between who and what. And that's where I think we're going to be successful. Now look, Ruben, especially in when we're playing in the Premier League, he's there, he's on the ground. He sees a player like he saw with Cunha last year and Mbumo, and he will go to the club and say, I love them. I love them. I've seen them. I love them. When the lists come back, is Ruben going to look at those players, watch them, and also give his opinion on whether they will fit into his team? 100%. Absolutely he will. He's going to do that. Absolutely. But he's not going to be the one running the whole thing. Ten Hag asked for that control and he got it, and it was because we've done this silly thing of trying to make the manager this mythical part of it. And the best thing that I can say about what Wilcox has done, same as what Sir Jim has done, is take the manager position out of this mythical zone of this is the God figure at the club that does absolutely everything all the time, and that's it. And there's nothing else that we can do. And make it the responsibility of the entire unit to ensure that the club is successful, from the CEO to the sporting director to the manager, that it is a collective effort in making this work, and it's not all in one way or another. So then he also said this, here comes the flashbang, boom. They continue on to target players who want to work for the team. We bring in a player that have to want to improve and have to be a team player and understand what it means to be part of a successful team. It's not about putting the Harlem Globetrotters together. If I put...
Do you think Wilcox's comment on being custodians and talking about when their journey will end casts doubt over Ineos taking over fully?
Does that all sound okay to you guys? Did that readout sound crazy, or is it just my audio? I hope that it didn't come through insane to you guys, because it sounded like a crazy robot in my ear. I think that's on my side. I'm about 90% sure. Do you think Wilcox comments on being custodians? No. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it's exactly what it is. That they're there as owners. Even as owners, they're custodians. I think Sir Jim has said the exact same words at points in time. And that is the correct view, and they know that is the view of the fan base as well, that nobody owns Manchester United as a community asset in a sense, and everybody should, and that should be the mindset of everybody working there, that you're there to see it out. The readouts, that's what I'm saying. That's what it sounded like to me, Marcus. That was crazy. Can you change the voice though? Yeah. But anyway, yes. So he says it's not about putting the Harlem Globetrotters together. If I look at a successful United teams, there were functional players that would die for the badge, and there were some mavericks. When you talk about Cantona, when you hear anybody talk about him, he was the ultimate professional. When I look now and see the car park, when the report time is 9:45, you see the lads coming in 8:30, 8:45 preparing. This is a good sign. The mood hasn't changed. So he's saying, despite the ups and downs, it wasn't like at the training ground things were going to shit. All of that. So it's been consistent. It's a narrative that sometimes people are trying to create, but the most important thing is that internally we know what we need to do. We know where we are as a group. The players understand where we are as a club, and we're making progress on and off the pitch. Remain calm and understand we're heading in a right direction. So clearly he feels that there is a very strong direction of travel that is progress. And And I would tend to agree. So this was a really, really interesting video and interview overall in terms of the quotes, in terms of everything, describing the recruitment, describing the way that they're approaching things at the club. I love it. I think it's great. And I would love to see more and more and more and more of this from the club, from Wilcox, from the people involved. I want to keep hearing from them. It does really, really, really well when you hear from these guys, when they're up front and out there. And again, like I say, it takes the pressure off of just it being all on Ruben. It doesn't need to be all on Ruben. It's not a manager club. It is a club. Everybody is here to push in the same direction and be successful. So hopefully that is the way that it is viewed by everyone, and they're all working together on that front. So that's, yeah. What did you guys think? Tell me in the chat here. What do you guys think of the video from Wilcox, if you've watched it, or the quotes that we've read through? I like it's straightforward. It's no nonsense. It doesn't seem like a ton of PR speak to me. It's specific enough in the descriptions of how the recruitment works, things like that, to be, for me, meaningful, important, and good. And that's just what I want to hear. It's not a bunch of bullshit. It's not a bunch of like, we're going to win the Premier League. It's not, we can do things in the market nobody's ever dreamed of. It's just reality. It's just what is, what he's saying. And I like it. It's refreshing. It is refreshing. It is refreshingly straightforward honesty about certain things. Big fan. So, and with what they've done in the market this last summer and the prior one, even though it wasn't perfect, I think they did a good job with some good players. They're doing the right things, and I'm very, very encouraged that we're one way or another, where we're going is inevitable. That's how I feel. Okay. I think what we're doing, there is an inevitability about it, because when you do things the right way, when you take the right processes, the end result is inevitable. And that's not to say there aren't, the only thing is there, you're always going to be competing, because there's other clubs that may be doing the right things and the right processes and the right things like that as well, for sure. But that's all you can ask for. Do the right processes so that United are competing again. What I think is inevitable is that United will compete. We will be back to competing. We will be back to competing for the Premier League. We will be back to competing for highest honors. Winning them is always going to be tough. It's never a guarantee. But what they have to do is get us to that point where we're competing again. And then sometimes it's just quality. Sometimes then it's the fine margins. But you got to get yourself within those margins. And I think that they will get us within those margins as we get there. I like his quotes about Amram's system being flexible. Yes, he also talked about that, how Amram's system is actually very flexible in certain ways that it does, and we're starting to see more of it. Not a lot of talk of Amram changing his system after what we saw against Forest. And no surprise, we played out the back and didn't just go long the whole game, because it was just a game decision, and he said himself it was very flexible. So all of that is interesting. Let's look at some of what was the stats in terms of talking about progress, and then we'll go to our transfer priorities, take a look at them, and look at what has been a long-term plan building for some time. Let's take a look at the progress. Here's an interesting one. I like to just look at this as an overall kind of measurement of last season versus the season before versus the season before, okay? So if you actually take a look, it's yellow being, 2 years ago. Rough season. We finished 8th. Full counter-attacking. These are just measurements of different things and all of that. Then you take last year. We were slower. We didn't score. We didn't attack. I see progress here in the way that we're playing, that it's growing. It's rounding itself out. Pressing decent. Physicality decent. Defending needs a little bit of work. But the attacking, goals, countering, it's all coming. This more teaches us the style of United and the direction that we are going. Some other stats that I think are meaningful still here as we go into week 10. United's still top of the league in shots on target, in the right kind of zone in terms of pressing. There's an interesting one here, passes per possession, okay? You can see that we've kind of moved to, a fairly middle of the pack in terms of attack. You can see that Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, and City still have higher like possession chains on average and things like that. And we could say that this is either just stylistically we're attacking more directly, or it's simply we're just not good enough yet, and we want to see a few more passes chained together on average, which personally I think there's some merit to that we're not necessarily good enough yet at what we need to do in terms of keeping the ball, but there's progress. But it was an interesting one because I also wanted to look at the stats, right? And I was looking at expected goals. We're on 19.38 after 10 games, okay? If we go by that and we average it over 38 games, we would be on 73.634 in expected